Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the ultimate piece of music for bassoon and orchestra. You guys actually asked me for this, so don't blame me if you think this is bizarre, because boy, is this an eccentric piece of music, but a fabulous one. It's by Charles Koechlin, who some of you insist should be pronounced Koechlin. Some people say Koechlin, some people say Koechlin. There are other people with the same last name. Some of them pronounce it one way, some of them pronounce it the other. I got my pronunciation from my conductor friend, the late Antonio de Almeida, who knew Charles Koechlin. And he told me when I mistakenly pronounced it Koechlin that it's Koechlin. Who's right? Who gives a damn? I don't want any crap from you people about this. It went back and forth last time. It almost put me off doing talks about the man because you guys get so pissy about these irrelevancies. So I'm not even going to go there. It's Koechlin, and this is the disc on CPO, Works for Bassoon. Now, there are three pieces on here. There are the three pieces for bassoon and piano, and there's the bassoon sonata, which has been recorded before. Bassoonists actually kind of sort of know it and record it. But my friends, this is the only recording of the amazing, the astonishing, 36-minute long Silhouettes de Comédie, 12 pieces for bassoon and orchestra. Can you believe that? Yes, they are comedy silhouettes for bassoon and orchestra. 12 movements lasting anywhere from like 1 to 4 minutes each. And in fact, I'm going to play two of them, which belong in our series of miniature masterpieces, because you can listen to the whole thing. They're quite brief, but they are amazing. They do everything possible that the bassoon can do, and several impossible things, I might add. It really is an extraordinary piece. The orchestra is huge. It has a contrabass clarinet. It has an oboe d'amour. It's used with extreme precision and refinement, as you might imagine. I don't know if you know, but Koechlin wrote the most voluminous, unbelievably large, insanely detailed orchestration treatise in the history of mankind. He was really nuts. And his love of the bassoon was really an extraordinary thing because, as you know, the bassoon is good basically for two things. Either comedy, it's a clown instrument, as in the Sorcerer's Apprentice, comedy, or gloom, misery, horror. Like the solo at the beginning of Haydn's Drumroll Symphony. Well, actually, it doubles the strings with the basses, but you get the idea. It's a very dark instrument, a low instrument, but yet one with a tremendous amount of personality and kind of a strange timbre. It's fascinating. It's easy to understand why Koechlin was fascinated by the bassoon. The other reason, I think, is because actually Koechlin kind of looked like a bassoon. I mean, there he is. Call me silly, but that man looks like a bassoon. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, here's a bassoon, right? That's what a bassoon looks like, and this is what Koechlin looked like. The man was a bassoon. Anyway, this piece was composed somewhere around the 1942-ish, right about the same time that he wrote his Offrande sur le nom de Bach, one of his more insane pieces of music, which I talked about previously. I've done a couple of Koechlin videos, Jungle Book and other things. Do look at them. He was the epitome of an eccentric genius. His orchestration of Schubert's Wanderer Fantasy has to be heard to be believed. He was really, really quirky. So anyway, this piece features the bassoonist is Eckart Hübner, pardon me, I need to get this straight because he's an amazing player. There we go. It helps to have type I could read. Okay, the bassoonist is Eckart Hübner, and the SWF Symphony Orchestra is under the leadership of Roland Bader, or Bader, or however you want to pronounce it, because we're not going to worry about pronunciation in this particular chat. It's an extraordinary piece. Even though he wrote it in like 1942, it was never performed in his lifetime. It wasn't performed until 1997 or something like that, believe it or not. And it hasn't been performed much since. But it is, without question, the greatest, most comprehensive, most colorful piece ever written for bassoon and orchestra. That I think I can promise you. So the 12 pieces are all character sketches. They're named after characters in Molière plays. They're named after Commedia dell'arte characters and characters from contemporary theater as well. It's really extraordinary. And I'm going to play you 4 examples because you just got to hear some of this stuff. It begins with the prologue. The prologue is Le Château de la Maître de Capitaine Franc something or other. Fracas, as in fricassee, fracas, or make a fracas, a tumult, a chaos, you know? Capitaine Fracas. That's the prologue. The second movement is the duetto. It's a duet between Zerbinette and Gérante. These are Molière characters. And here is a bit of that delicious little duet between the bassoon, whom I assume is a Gérante, and the orchestra, which may be Zerbinette, or it may be the other way around. I have no way of knowing. But just listen to the extraordinary refinement of the scoring. That's what really matters here. Take a listen. Yes, rather remarkable, isn't it? Okay, the third movement is L'Éternel Cid. I don't know what that is. Cli tendre. That's what it is. L'Éternel Cli tendre. Isn't that helpful? The fourth one is Isabelle. That's Isabelle, so that's clear. The fifth is, let's see, Le Matamor, the braggart. That means the braggart, the guy who's boastful and obstreperous. And this is a very boastful and obstreperous piece. And I can play, I believe, all of it. Yes, indeed. All 1 minute and 27 seconds of it. Here you go. The braggart. Fascinating, isn't it? It's a braggart. I just can't get over this. Mr. Bassoon, there he is. He looks like a bassoon. I'm telling you, he looks like a bassoon. This is so appropriate. When you hear that and you look at that, it all makes sense, doesn't it? All right, number 6. Let's see. Number 6 is Arnulf et Agnès. Arnulf et Agnès, another couple of theatrical types. And number 7, Le beau Léandre, the handsome Leander. And here is a good bit. Let me see, how long is this one up? It's almost 3 minutes. Sorry, I can only do a bit of it. Here's a bit of Handsome Leander. I guess you get a sense now of like the extraordinary range of colors and oppositions of the timbre of the bassoon to the timbre of all of the other orchestral instruments, and it just goes on and on like that. I have to say, 36-minute bassoon and orchestra pieces in 12 little movements are not usually the kinds of things that make me just, like yearn to hear more. But when I put this on, I could not take it off. I was fascinated. It just keeps you listening compulsively. And it has a big ending too, a big, loud, exciting, grand ending. Very grandiose for a bassoon. Let's see. So we did that one. That was 7. 8 is Les Deux Orphelines. And number 9 is Columbine, not Columbine, not like the high school where the shooting happened in Colorado, not Columbine, Columbina, the Commedia dell'arte character. Columbina, danseuse. She's a ballerina, and she dances for exactly 1 minute and 18 seconds, and I am going to let you listen to all of her. Here she goes. That was Columbine, danseuse. And then after that, we have number 10, Chanson martiale des gardes françaises. Well, we all know what that's going to be, right? It's a marche. Yes, it's militant. Then comes Harlequin, Arlecchino in Italian, Harlequin. And finally, Monsieur Prudhomme au bat des lumières. Oh, there we go. Monsieur Prudhomme au bal des humoristes. There we go. Monsieur Prudhomme at the party of the humorists. And that's what this is. It's just delightful. And the type is so tiny. I should have brought my magnifying glass. It's unbelievable. And even if I have like readers on, which is what these are, I can see it. I can see clearly the tiny print that I can't read. Unbelievable. But wasn't that fabulous? Isn't that extraordinary? Now, this disc may be very hard to source. It is definitely available as an MP3 download. That I know for a fact, and you may want to try it that way. It is on the CPO label. Thank you, CPO. They do so much wonderful stuff, so much interesting repertoire. I don't know if you can find physical copies, but maybe used you can get them. I'm sure they sold maybe 2 or 3 back when it was originally issued. I mean, let me see what the date is on this. I'm not 100% sure. Do they have the date on this? 1926. No, that's the picture of this. Monsieur le Bassoon, le fagot. Yeah, there he was. It doesn't even say when this was recorded. It must be on this here somewhere. Wait a minute. Ah, there it is. It's on the back of this thing. 1995. And so, 1995, it's like dog years. That's like 37 centuries ago in the life of a classical CD. So I don't know if you can find the disc, but you can get it as downloads. And the point was, one of you or some of you at the time we were talking about wind music challenged me to come up with a talk on music for bassoon and orchestra. But the fact of the matter is there's very little great music for bassoon and orchestra. There's like Mozart. If Mozart hadn't written a bassoon concerto, nobody would care about music for bassoon and orchestra. Probably nobody at all, other than a few like Baroque thingies. So this is the most major work for bassoon and orchestra that I have yet come across. Certainly one of the most inventive, one of the most characterful, one of the truest to the actual nature of the instrument. I mean, anybody can write some, expressionistic nightmare or avant-garde creature and to say to the bassoon, you have to play this. And it would sound just as awful as if any other instrument played it. But these pieces, as I hope you heard, are really written with the bassoon in mind, because they are autobiographical, because Koechlin was himself a bassoon. As you can see, I just love this picture. I can't get over the picture. All right, never mind. You just have to keep on listening. If you want the ultimate in bassoon and orchestra writing, this is it. Comedy silhouettes for bassoon and orchestra. Silhouettes de Comédie for bassoon and orchestra. And once again, the performer is Eckart Hübner, who is amazing that he takes this on and triumphs with the SWF Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Roland Bader on CPO. Keep on listening. I think I already said that. I don't care. Thank you for joining me. This is really quite a trip, this one, isn't it? Take care, folks.